at this point, our layout is in fact responsive. And it's responsive to the width because we're telling these elements to be a percentage with also some margin on each side. Okay. Now, if we want to go to the next level of responsive, we need to detect our device width and then make changes based on the device width. So right now, we basically are just changing the width of our link buttons based on the overall, width of the browser window. Okay. So if I wanted these elements to stack up, what I can do is, let's take a look at our main nav, and under Flex Direction, we're going to add Flex Wrap. And let's set wrap as our property value. Okay. And we'll go ahead and save. So we're going to have our rows now allow them to wrap. And you'll see we're not really getting what we want as far as stacked or even laying out correctly now as a horizontal nav. Now we could change the width of our div from 25% to 100%, and we would get the stack or a vertical navigation, which would be good for a mobile menu. But now we have what is a responsive mobile menu or stacked menu based on the overall width of our browser. What we need to do is detect the width and switch back and forth between wrap and no wrap. So if we change this back to no wrap, okay, you'll notice that even though I'm setting the nav divs to 100% of the width, it's not responding exactly how we want. Okay, so I'm going to keep this at no wrap for a second, and let's go ahead and set our width back here to 25%, and we should now have our 4 buttons back, which we might want in a desktop and a tablet view, but in our mobile view we would want these all stacked up, and we're going to do that with a media query. All right, so let's go to our CSS and we will create our first media query. So I have added a comment, a CSS comment, I should say a JavaScript style comment in the CSS, and I'm just pointing out that main nav, the divs, the link, and the hover, this is my main navigation style. These are my main navigation styles. And what I want to do is change these based on the width of the browser window or the device width. Okay, so one way to do this, or the way to do this, is with an @media rule. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to scroll about halfway down the page here, and this example I like because my approach, I tend to always list the mobile styles first. So we tend to design for a mobile device, and then we enhance or change the layout for, let's say, a wider device like a tablet, or even yet a wider device like a desktop. Okay, so this is a really good approach here where what your rules, which come first, would be your mobile, and then you would do a media query for what would be tablet, and then we would do a media query to test a width for what might be desktop. And you can have as many media queries as you want to target as many different device widths as you need for your project. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this entire media query here, and we're going to go back and we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of our CSS, and I'm going to add a couple of spaces, and I'll paste in the media query. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just create a comment. So I'm going to pause and then write the comment. All right, so I've included my comment so I know where the tablet rules begin. Okay, I'm going to call this tablet, but this will be, for the demonstration, a media query, and this is going to be or target a device where I want the menu to lay out horizontally as opposed to in the mobile where I want the menu to lay out vertically. So let's go ahead and save, and now let's go back up and find our navigation. We're going to change in main nav the flex wrap to wrap, and we are going to change the width of each of the divs, what will be each of the buttons, to 100%, like so. And if we preview our page, we will see that in fact our menu is now stacked up. So I'm going to go back, and I'll even grab the comment here. Let's just grab everything that is the main navigation, and we will copy, and let's go down to the bottom, and this is where that light green color is coming from. That is in the background. Okay, we're going to remove that, and we will paste in. So make sure I get the entire body declaration, and we're going to delete. And I'm just going to add a little bit of space after this just to move this up so it's a little easier for you to see. And what we're going to look at here is we have at media, specifically a screen, and when the minimum width is something. I'm going to change this to 800 pixels. So 799 pixels and below or narrower will be all of these rules up here. But soon as the minimum width reaches 800, let's say like for a tablet, what we will do is we will paste in what is our main navigation, and we can go ahead and set flex wrap back to no wrap, and we can set the width to 25%. And let's go ahead and save. So when we preview our page, we will see that this is wider than 800 pixels, but soon as we get 1 pixel more narrow than 800, so let's just make this narrow, and you'll see that our menu now becomes a stacked menu, which would be perfect for a mobile device like a phone. Now, maybe I don't want this padding either, because you're in a device and you want the viewport to go all the way across. Okay, so let's just make this a little wider, and let's go back to our code. And if we look at the div, each of the divs inside of main nav. Now remember, we are currently in what will be the tablet that's say 800 pixels and wider. So 800 pixels and wider, this margins, we have 20 pixels on the right, 20 pixels on the left. That is what's giving us that space. So let's scroll up, and in what is the mobile, okay, here's our main navigation ends. So let's find our div, and let's change the left to 0, and the right, and we will change the left to 0, and we will save. Okay. And let's go ahead and take a look. So we're over 800 pixels, so we have our 4 buttons, our menu elements, and then soon as we get under the 800, now our menu is stacked up. Okay, so adding a media query to distinguish the width of our device, the width of our browser. So if we're on a desktop, it's a browser. If we're using a mobile phone or a tablet, then we would say technically viewport. Okay, so we have now used a media query to enhance what is Flex Box menu layout to be responsive to test for the width of our viewport or browser